Right now, a quick break, back with more of Newsmakers in a moment.
Welcome back to News 12 Westchester's Newsmakers. If you live here in Westchester County or anywhere in the tri-state area, what we're talking about today impacts you. Whether or not the Indian Point nuclear power plant should be shut down in the wake of the terrorist attacks of September 11th. Our guests again are Mr. Kyle Rabin with the Hudson River Keeper, the powerful environmental group in Westchester that does want to see the plant shut for good. Also with us is Mr. Jerry Waters of the Utility Workers of America. Mr. Waters represents the workers at Indian Point who say if the plant wasn't safe, they just wouldn't be working there. Gentlemen, let me ask you both, if September 11th had not occurred, would we be sitting here right now having this conversation?
Absolutely not.
You're saying absolutely not, Mr.
I
Rabin?
think we still would, because there's multiple safety issues at the facility. But just to make the point that terrorism has always been a concern with the protection of nuclear power plants through the 80s, through the 90s, and now. It's just that after we've seen the damage that was done to this country on September 11th, that this issue is finally being paid attention to. But it should have always been a concern. There's no question about that. And we have valid reasons to believe that the plant is safer shut down than operating.
But Mr. Rabin, let me ask you to expound on that, because 2 years ago when we saw the steam leak, the radioactive steam leak, it was a small one, granted, and contained basically, but when we saw that at the plant and Indian Point 2 was shut down for almost a year, we went to people in the area. They did not feel unsafe. They did not feel the plant was safe. People living in Buchanan said they were going to continue to live in Buchanan. And then we have the horrific events of September 11th, where members of the press are getting a whole different feel from people now. They are concerned about an evacuation plan that nobody even read prior to September 11th.
That's a good point. The emergency evacuation plan has received a lot of attention lately, and while we've always raised concerns about the inadequacy of the plan to protect public health and safety, of course now in this new era that's given more attention, and there are huge holes in this plan that cannot protect the public. Certainly it's designed just to protect the 10-mile zone, while NRC documents say that the impacts could be felt as far away as 50 miles in a 50-mile radius of the facility. That includes New York City. We're talking about 20 million people within a 50-mile radius of this plant who are at risk. And there are valid concerns regarding the plan. And to be honest with you, the plan is safer shut down. There is research that comes from the Nuclear Control Institute that explains that 20 days after reactor shutdown, the radioactive inventory in the plant is reduced to such a degree that the impacts, the health impacts, if there should be an attack at that point, would be significantly less. And that's so important to keep track of.
Mr. Waters, your union membership says this plant is perfectly safe.
That's correct.
And should not be shut down. What about the evacuation plan? Are you guys taking a position on that?
Basically, I read the Brodsky report yesterday that deals specifically with the evacuation plan that was put in place. And his whole report is flawed because it's based on outdated information. The plan has been modified since then. In fact, I think Andy Spano had commented just sometime late yesterday on it, that there have been modifications made to the plan. The original plan that Brodsky had reviewed was based on the Census Bureau statistics that go back, I would say, about 2 decades. A lot of things have changed in Westchester County since then. The people realized that. They made the modifications. The plan was signed off by the governor. Governor Pataki signed off on it. All the county legislators signed off on it.
County executives. Some county legislators here in Westchester
well, let's say the executives
don't buy it. Right.
From Orange, from Rockland, from Putnam, from Westchester. The county executives feel confident. I think that though a lot of people, to be honest with you, are making this a political football. The Democrats in particular, Andy Cuomo, right now is looking to run against Pataki. What is he going to say about Pataki? I mean, Pataki's done a great job in this state as far as the energy is concerned. So what does he do? He's looking for an issue. And this is not a new issue. In fact, you know, it goes back 25 years. Like I said, it's the same people looking for a new excuse. This is their new excuse. Now it's time to get on the political bandwagon because he wants to be governor. And that's what this is all about. It's all politics. It's all politics.
You're saying it's not a political...
In the sense that Republicans and Democrats do air their concerns about Indian Point and have vocalized that the plant should be shut down. There is a Putnam County legislator, a Republican, who's been adamant for many years for the shutdown of Indian Point. So let's not say this is about Republicans and Democrats. This is about public health and safety. And if you're an elected official, you have the responsibility to protect the public health and safety. If you're saying that Indian Point should continue to operate, then you're not doing your duty.
Let me ask you, just listening to both of you, you're obviously very committed to your viewpoints, and you both, I think, firmly believe that in your case, Mr. Waters, there is no danger, and in your case, Mr. Rabin, you're very convinced there is a danger here. That's basically, for the people of Westchester County who are living here, that is what they're getting. They're getting some, like you said, elected officials who are very concerned about safety issues, and others who are saying, no, no, this is safe. Is there a gray area, not a black and white? Can this be solved in any other way than making a determination that the plant is either shut or remains open?
Let me say this, we have 103 nuclear reactors in this country. We had one monumental accident that happened at 3 Mile Island. The nuclear industry has learned a lot from that accident and is taking a lot of additional steps to prevent a similar accident from reoccurring. They had a meltdown at that site, which resulted in basically no deaths, no injuries. No one was rushed to the hospital with severe, radiation burns or any of that, and that was a really bad accident. And right after that happened, the nuclear industry got together and said, how can we prevent such a thing from happening again? We have, probably right now, the technology at Indian Point 2 and Indian Point 3 is state-of-the-art. We have the best in the country. We came out, actually the Entergy came out and said, yeah, we've detected a leak. That leak could not have been detected anywhere in the country because they don't have the type of equipment that we have. And we want to share that knowledge with the rest of the country to ensure that the rest of them are up to date so that we all have this industry is the safest. We want it to continue to be the safest industry in the world.
If Indian Point 2 in particular is that safe, why is it the 103rd of 103 nuclear power plants, the only plant in the nation that is on the NRC's red list? Can you explain that to us?
Basically, the red list it's kind of like it's a report card. It's saying that, they always identify certain items within a power station. And they say, we think that you need to pay attention to these items. So hey, we want these plants to be 100% safe. So if it's 85% safe, it goes on their red list. So we want to make sure it's 100%. So we look at the areas that they identify, which is, again, not done in any other industry. And we think it's great. We think it's great that they identify this stuff. We tell the public what's going on. Entergy is committed to correcting what's ever identified. So again, we feel very confident, and the people that Local 1-2 represent, believe me, if they fell for any danger at all over a terrorist attack or they'd be on the phone to the office every day.
Mr. Rabin, is there any compromise here? Is there something that could be done that the Riverkeeper and other groups opposed to this plant so vehemently now could be convinced that it is safe enough to remain open? Would it be a completely revamped evacuation plan? Would that do it?
Well, first of all, we are beginning a dialogue with workers to see if there are solutions to this threat to public health and safety. Indian Point 2, as was mentioned, is the worst rated plant in the nation. People should know that these plants leak on a daily basis radiation into the air and water. The spent fuel pool at Unit 1 is leaking. This is daily environmental impacts. Our beef is not with the workers, but with a degraded plant that is run down. Even the steam generators that were put in at the end of 2000 are now showing signs of degradation. That's after replacing the ones that were badly degraded. Now we're seeing the beginning of flaws in that technology. There's no disputing that. This plant is degraded, it's run down, it has daily public health and environmental impacts, and should be shut down. The evacuation plan does not address an evacuation within a 50-mile zone. And
only a 10-mile zone is
only
what's
a 10-mile zone. And there's nothing being done currently to expand that plan to a 50-mile zone. There's federal legislation introduced by Senator Clinton that calls for a 50-mile radius protection. But what's being done by the county is not going to go that far, and we think it should.
We are quickly running out of time. Mr. Waters will give you the last word here. How does this all get solved? What's going to happen next?
I agree with one aspect of what Kyle says. I think that there are solutions to legitimate concerns. Let's say that a lot of the concerns are based on misinformation, things that are outdated information plus misinformation, and people that have their own political agenda out there that just don't want the truth out, that they're hell-bent on just shutting the place down. We'll get the facts out, and as legitimate concerns do arise, we can deal with that. We think that's the right way to go, not to shut the place down. Again, are we going to give in to terrorists and shut everything down?
We have to stop right there. That's all the time we have. Unfortunately, this discussion could go on for a lot longer, and of course it will.
Gentlemen, we thank you both for being here. Kyle Raven,
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and Jerry Waters, thank you. Good to have you both, and thank you for being so candid with us. To our viewers at home, we thank you for joining us as well on this edition of Newsmakers. I'm Janine Rose.
I'm Brian Coneybear. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody.